5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hey, YouTubers and friends. How are each and every one of you doing out there tonight? I hope you're all doing well on this Tuesday evening. That's right, in the Goldfields, Scott Swiftwater, Tony. Woo-hoo! Well, as many of you know tonight, we're having the return visit of a former crew member on Gold Rush Whitewater. Also, I think she's a modern legend if she thinks so or knows so or not. Our guest tonight is Kayla Johanson. A rather nice dredging machine. Lives up in AK, living the dream. Very talented artist with lapidary and wire wrapping jewelry. Nightbot just dropped some info about a special discount for those of you tonight and tomorrow only. Very limited time for this 10% discount on her jewelry. And if you stick around till the very end, you could have a chance to win a half-pound bag of her own pay dirt. She mines the gold. She does it all. All of you. So with no more further ado, let's get the show started. And thank you everyone for being here. I'd go through all your names because you're all very important to me. But I want to get through my intro and get this monologue taken care of and get to our guest tonight, because that's just the kind of guy I am. So don't go away. We'll be right back.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Tuesday Night Hangout Live. It's Tuesday night, Hangout Live. It's Tuesday night, Hangout Live. It's Tuesday night, Hangout Live. With your host, Ed Marvin. Tuesday Night Hangout Live is a Flash in Your Pan production.
Welcome back, Kayla.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going really good on this side of the country. I hope everything's well up in AK.
Yeah, we're having a bit of a cold spell right now. It was sub-zero overnight and early this morning. So I had a little bit of an issue with some frozen pipes this morning. So it's been interesting.
Oh, well, I'm sure you'll take care of it. Keep that sub-zero up there, please. I'm in construction
You don't
and I
want it?
work outside. No. I'm sure we'll have it. I'm sure we'll have it here in the Midwest in due time. In due time. Again, welcome everybody to another Tuesday Night Hangout Live. Nightbot will be dropping some links about the giveaway and the 10% off all the jewelry over at the Peking Dough over at Yetsy. Read the description. Come on, you can do that. Read the description and it will tell you all about it. But the giveaway for Pay Dirt is at the end of this live stream. So but it's never too late to enter. If you read the description or the Nightbot link post, you'll catch the drift. Kayla, what's new in your world since you've last joined us?
Um, well, I've just been doing the same thing I always do, mining and jewelry and mining and jewelry. But I got access to a lot more new ground this past year. So I've definitely added to my claims collection. So that was pretty exciting. But besides that, I mean, just the same thing I always do. Dredging, exploring, prospecting, and then turning gold nuggets into jewelry.
And you make beautiful jewelry. I just wish I had more spare cash. But,
Well, maybe I'll send you something for Christmas for having me on your show again.
that'd be too nice of you, but I won't return it. I promise you that. Now, how has life been for you since you left Gold Rush Whitewater?
Quite a bit more enjoyable. I like doing my own actual mining a lot better than the TV mining.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm really grateful that I did it because it did get a lot of exposure as far as like my jewelry business and things like that. And it was a cool experience, you know, something different that I wasn't used to. So it was neat to experience something outside of what I would normally do, but I'm a lot happier being back to my own mining.
Now, if Rod Television came to you and said, Kayla, we want you to do a show, just you know, what you do, you can hold the reins to a lot of it. I know that might be pretty iffy with the way producers can be.
I told you they were there.
Can you hear them behind my screen?
Yeah.
Can't you see the red light on that says live? Love you too. The joys of live entertainment, everybody. I know Kayla and I could hear them. I don't know about you out there, but Alaskan Assassin Adventures would like to know if your email is on your channel, Kayla.
I don't think so. But anyone can message me on Facebook or on my Etsy shop.
There you
Because I get
go.
private messages on either of those.
And under her name, she has her Etsy shop URL. Oh, look at this from my friend Jason the Mason, the Flower Gold Wizard. A $49.99 super chat. Oh yeah, super chat. Thank you very much, Jason. I appreciate it. I hope that it's good enough for you, AK Assassin Adventures. Ask if she can make her own vids. She does, Stephen. Down in the description. I'll let her talk about it though. Kayla, you make your own videos now, right?
Here and there. I was doing quite a few in the late spring and first half of the summer, but I had some unexpected things pop up this year and I didn't have as much time to dedicate to the videos, but I'm probably going to try to start back up on them in my spring season next year. But I do have a few videos uploaded on YouTube just showing some underwater footage, showing some dredging, sniping, shows gold being found. And then some of the videos show the gold being found as well as that same piece of gold actually be turned into a piece of jewelry. So you get to kind of see the whole process from finding it to creating. So I did do a few videos like that, but I haven't uploaded any new videos in a couple months.
Okay, well, I remember seeing a few being produced by you earlier. Outdoor Wally said subbed. Thank you for subbing, Kayla. I would greatly appreciate it if each and every one of you out there looks down in the description, or if I could get Mr. Lodak to throw out Kayla's channel page. Go over to there, show her some FlashFam love, click on the subscribe, ring that bell, and you'll be notified each and every time she puts up any new content. Remember, she's busy. She's mines. She's a miner. She's out there working hard year round, right, Kayla? When it's not
not
super
100%
bitterly
year
cold.
round, but I try to do as much as I can pretty much as soon as it opens up in the spring. I usually start mining anywhere from late March to mid-April, and then it's all weather dependent. So the dates each year can be different because every year is a little bit different with our snow and our temperatures. But I usually mine until anywhere from October to December, depending on how our fall and early winter is. And then I might do occasional trips if we get like windows of decent weather in the middle of winter. I might do a few sniping trips and stuff like that that are just day trips. But pretty much from April until at least October. Obviously, this year I'm going into November, but I dredge full time for that whole span.
Now, I have to give a tech update. Apparently, StreamYard's chat isn't working besides my private chat. I think. So I can't highlight any of the questions or comments, but my friend Jason from the Flower Gold Wizard, he does a lot of beach mining up on Lake Superior, and that's where I had the pleasure of meeting him. Kayla Johanson, I really enjoy your adventures. Rigby does too. Rigby's his partner and canine partner and friend.
Oh, cool.
But yeah,
I'm gonna try to post more videos. Eventually, it's just I'm only one person and doing the mining. You know, I mine full time, and then I'm doing the jewelry. But not only do I make the jewelry, but I'm the one doing all the photography, doing all the editing, doing all the listings, all my self promotion on social media. All the packaging, shipping, I do everything. So the videos, like I try to do them when I can, but I can't always have time.
And we all know how that can be. Well, except the mining full time, especially in Alaska. Brian Wilder may know, but I don't.
Yeah. Especially once like early spring and late fall into winter, just because there's so much more prep that goes in with the cold weather mining.
Right.
And it takes a lot out of you too, just battling the temperatures and the conditions. Well, so it's a lot.
Plus, you have to make sure you have what you need. You also have to take care of the home front too.
Yeah.
You know, if you burn wood, you gotta make sure you have plenty of cords of firewood or pellets or however you may heat your home. And obvious with what we talked about earlier. You're not in a dry cabin, so
Not during the winter, but I only stay in a cabin from pretty much October until early May, and then I have a travel trailer, and I actually just stay out at one of the areas that I mine at.
so you mine your own claims.
Yeah,
So you have your travel trailer parked up there when you're working a lot on the river.
yeah.
Mm.
And
Okay, so
so I have my
travel
own
prep.
claims, but then I have access to other ground as well. So, but I own a lot of claims of my own. So,
That's
but
good.
it's good to have options because, like I said, each year can be different, each season can be different, and the conditions change. You never know what one creek, one river is going to do at certain times of the year. So, like, for instance, one area that I mine is a really high avalanche risk. So, early spring, it might not be mineable because it might be blocked off by an avalanche. And there's been years where the hundreds of feet of the creek have been covered in 20 to 30 feet deep of snow from avalanches. So, I like to keep my options open because it can fluctuate where I can mine at what time of year.
Damon, West Coast gold prospecting out of Southern Oregon. Kayla, do you live in the U.S.? I'll let her answer it. I always thought Alaska was part of the U.S. But
It is. Alaska's part of the US, and I live in Alaska year round. I will visit down south. I try to go every winter if I can, but I don't know if I'm gonna be able to go anywhere this winter. But I live in Alaska year round.
I was going to touch base on that too. Flower Gold Wizard asks Kayla, where have you learned most of your prospecting skills?
Um, a lot of it has been self-taught just throughout the years of experience and just doing it, getting out and doing it, hands-on in the field. But I've definitely had some pointers along the way. When I first started, I want to say I was about 17 when I first started getting into panning. And I found out that my grandfather, who lived in Arizona, was also into gold prospecting. So I went and stayed with him for about a week or a week and a half. And he kind of taught me a little bit more about panning. We didn't do any sluicing or anything else. It was just panning, so shoveling and panning. So he showed me a little bit, and then I just kind of went off on my own and took it from there and just kept exploring, kept sampling, testing new areas, doing lots and lots of research. Like, there's a lot more to prospecting and learning than I think a lot of new people anticipate. It's not just going out and digging a hole. There's research, there's studying old maps, there's studying old reports, studying old mine reports, geological reports. I used to spend hours and hours on days that I didn't go out, hours overlaying old maps on top of new maps, because a lot of people don't realize that, like, the names of things over the years have changed. So sometimes a creek might have been called something else. So it can kind of throw you off on your research. But if you can overlay old maps onto new maps, sometimes you can kind of figure out what used to be called what. Like, this creek used to be called this, but now it's called this. And it can help
Right.
you a lot in your journey with doing research and sampling and finding areas to go dig. So I've just spent like countless hours doing all of that.
Have
And
you have you brought LiDAR into your research at all yet?
there's not really good data as much in Alaska on that stuff as there is in the lower 48.
Right.
I've tried it a little bit, but I haven't been able to really find as good of information and as good of high quality maps and stuff as, like, there's awesome ones for down south, and like when I was in North Carolina, there's really good ones for the East Coast, like that are really detailed and you can get a lot of information on. But the information up here, I think we're just a bit behind.
My good friend and dredging buddy Robert Tapati wants to know, have you had any close calls with bears, grizzlies, or any other creatures?
I've had a few. The first, well, the first encounter actually that I had was when I was living in California when I was a teenager. I think I was about 17 or 18. And I was up in the mountains. And I actually got stalked by a mountain lion. And that's actually one of the scariest encounters that I had. But
Oh,
as far
mountain
as,
lion.
yeah, honestly, mountain lions kind of freak me out more than bears because they'll actively stalk you. Most of the time,
Here
bears don't do
too.
that.
Up in Washington, when I was in the Cascades, I really didn't worry about bears really at all. I made lots of noise. I'm not out there hunting. I'm going from A to B to my dig spot, right?
Yeah.
So I'm thrashing around. I'm going, yo, bear, scat cat, and
I
stuff
sing really
like
stupid
that.
songs sometimes if I'm by myself. I'll sing stupid songs really loud.
Yeah. I'm here with you, but
It's really good no one's around me
cat.
because they think I was insane, probably.
Oh well, then the people out there, the two-legged beasts out there that might want to do you harm will think you're nuts and they'll leave you alone.
Yeah,
But
between them thinking I'm crazy and then seeing the gun strapped to my chest, they usually leave me alone.
right. But yeah, I'm with you. Mountain lions, they could be stalking you a long time before. Normally, they attack from above and to your neck. So,
Yeah, and from behind.
Otterman wants to know, did Gold Rush Whitewater pay you well?
They did. I got paid, per episode to be on this show, but I can go anywhere and get a job that pays me a paycheck, but that's not what's exciting for me. I like the hunt, and I wasn't as much of a fan of the production side and having to stage stuff and the editing and added drama. So it just kind of just became a job after a while instead of something I was passionate about. And I feel like once I lose passion on something, it takes away the fun for me.
Yeah, I can understand. A friend of mine from Washington, David and Kevin, they moved up to Alaska and started working the Bering Sea, right? They're doing
Mhm.
pretty good, still up there as far as I know. And I asked them, I'm like, what kind of effect did this have on your small scale and recreational? Even though I'm from the West Coast, I don't like using recreational or hobbyist prospector. I'm a prospector. So I'm like, how does this affect your small scale prospecting and mining? And they're like, Kevin's up there year round, but David comes home to Washington every year with his family, and he's like, it don't even exist anymore.
Yeah.
I work that full time while I'm there. I eat, breathe, day and night, mining. And when I come home, I don't even think about any small scale stuff. So I'm sure it's the same for you too.
Yeah, and just the being tied down. Whereas when I'm in my own mining, like if a spot's not working out for me, I move. But it's a little bit different when you have a whole production crew and they've spent weeks setting up a site and trails and all this stuff. It's not as easy to just up and move spots or change locations, because you're not just thinking about yourself moving and just your equipment anymore. It's moving an entire sound crew, film crew, production, edit crew, a whole camp. Like, it's just so much that's intertwined into it. So you're really kind of tied down. And I think that's part of it that I didn't really like too, is because if I'm stuck in this crappy spot that's not producing, and I can't just up and go to a different creek. Whereas when I'm in my own mining, if I'm in a spot that's not producing, I'm not going to stay there all year.
Also, Willie Shiny Gold out of Arizona brings up something pretty good. He goes, I feel like she doesn't like the narrative that the show is forced to produce, or they're forced to portray.
Yeah, in a sense, yeah.
Yeah, you're no longer in any agreement, like what do they call that, where you can't talk about it.
Oh, non-disclosure.
Yeah,
I mean, there's
non-disclosure.
certain things I'm not allowed to talk about.
Still, huh?
Yeah.
Well, at least they did it keep you from mining, doing your own show and mining.
Well, no one could tell me not to do something if I want to do it. I'm gonna do it. I don't really care if people like it or not. I mean, I was already mining full time well before the show, so it's like,
right.
I'm not gonna stop doing what I love post working on
I
the show.
can't blame you, and if they try, screw the man. Otterman asked, what's the biggest gold nugget that you've ever found?
I haven't found anything like super huge, but I have some nice chunky pieces. Like, I have this one here. It's about I don't know if you can see it real good, but that's about 1/3 of an ounce. But I'm keeping that piece for myself. It's probably going to end up being a necklace for myself one day. But I have several nuggets, like 1/3 of an ounce, 1/4 ounce, stuff like that. I haven't found anything huge, at least not yet.
That's keyword.
That's the keyword. Yet.
Not yet. Not yet. I root for you. I want you to find the American version of something huge. I forget the nugget name in Australia.
Isn't there one called the Boot of Cortez?
The Boot of Cortez, yeah, I believe so. There's also, shoot, I've been making so many history shorts lately too, but I'm having major blonde moments.
It's called a brain fart.
Yeah, I'm blonde, so I have a lot of them.
But I mean, it would be, obviously everyone wants to find a huge gold nugget, but I'm happy just finding consistent gold.
Oh, here's another Alaskan in the room. I believe. Oh shoot! Sorry, I forget your name. Is it James? Alaska Gold Hunter, I believe.
Oh, that's Justin.
Justin, yeah. Gee whiz.
Yeah.
Sorry, Justin. I'm a blonde and I'm terrible with names. But Lynn CKK. What's the purity like on the gold you recover?
It depends on what area I'm working in, because each creek the purity can vary slightly. But usually what I see is usually between 80 to 83%. I've seen it as low as 78 in certain creeks, but most of the areas that I mine are anywhere from 80 to 83%. And then sometimes I get nice pieces that have quartz still in them too, which it brings down the purity of the overall nugget, but I think that makes it cooler specimen wise when there's quartz in it. Makes for pretty jewelry.
I'm having a comment to Justin. Don't take that like that, Justin. At least she knew your name and I was calling you James. Come on. I still want you to come on the show with me sometimes, Justin. BC, I'm in North Georgia. Beautiful areas. So is the Carolinas. Let me see if I'm. Remember, tag me at sign or pound sign and my handle name. It will jump out at me so I could see it. Remember, I don't have my two co-hosts anymore, so it's a lot easier.
Oh yeah, you had more people last time, I thought.
That. Yeah, I had a couple other co-hosts with me. Rose and Toledo Jess, and I believe Dana was here too that night. I'd have to go back in my archives and look.
I can't remember. Was that last winter or the winter before? Was that 1 or 2 years ago?
Couple years ago, I think.
I think it was about 2 years ago, probably.
Yeah. I did do an archive flashback of the episode you were on during my summer break. The last 2 summers, I took 3 months off to concentrate on work and other stuff, take a break.
It's nice to take a break so you don't get burnt out.
Right. Brad Welsh from the land down under. Good day there, young fella. And good day there, Kayla J. Willie Shiny Gold. How did she start working with Discovery? Did they reach out or some other means?
So, actually, it started quite a few years back before I even was actually on the show. Before the show even existed, actually. I was living in North Carolina at the time, and I was already dredging, but I wasn't dredging full-time out there. It was more just like I had a normal job, so it was just on my time off, I'd go dredging. And someone reached out to me on Facebook that I was mutual friends with that said that he saw something about a TV show looking for people for a dredging gold show, and he thought I'd be really good for it. And believe it or not, like up until doing the show, I was terrified of cameras. I hated being on video. Like I would freeze if anyone was like recording me. I hated cameras. So I was like, oh, I don't know. He's like, well, I think you'd be good for it. You should at least try and blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking in my head, like, okay, this is probably like, nothing's going to come of it. It's probably just something fake. So I was like, sure, you can give him my phone number. Next thing I know, I got a phone call from like a casting person, and then I had like Skype interviews. And then they flew me out to Nevada where I did a demo shoot with Fred and Dustin and Paul and Wes. And after that, I had a contract and I was actually supposed to be on season 1. But at the very last minute, like I had a leave date and everything. And then a few weeks before I was supposed to leave to go to Alaska, I get a phone call saying that, oh, we're so sorry, but they decided to go with somebody else. And part of it was during the casting, like, I got a lot of flack for being a female, and also, like, I'm a relatively small person. So everyone just, like, some people would look at me and just be like, oh, she can't do this because she's not going to be strong enough, or she's not going to be this, you know. They were just judging me just because I was small. And so I didn't get it that first time, and I was just like, okay, whatever, I'm just going to go about my business and keep doing what I'm doing. So I just kept mining. And then several years later, I ended up moving to Alaska on my own and was mining full time. And the whole time since that first season, the producer of the show had followed me on Facebook. So he saw the whole, like, transition, the whole ordeal of me going full time and everything. And so then they were looking, once Fred was no longer going to be like a full-time entity on the show, they were looking for other people to bring on. And so at this point, Ryan had left the show, and I guess Dustin had reached out to Ryan and asked him if he knew anyone that he thought would be good to consider.
Ryan Cordoza, good guy.
Yeah. So he asked Ryan, I guess, if there was anyone that he thought would be a good fit, and Ryan recommended me. The producer had been following me, so he kept trying to get me on. So there was like several people that kept bringing me up. And so Ryan messaged me one day and said, hey, I know you and Dustin didn't quite have the best interaction the first time you met, but he's kind of interested in talking to you about maybe coming on. And so I was like, well, I can't make any guarantees, but I'll at least talk to him, see what he has to say. And so then I spoke with him.
Dustin's familyhood wasn't threatened, was it?
What's that?
Kind of a cat on Dustin's. Sorry, Dustin,
I just didn't
but
hear it.
I said Dustin's manlyhood felt a bit threatened.
Maybe. So then Dustin called me, and then I had talked to some people from Discovery Channel, and you know, I told Dustin, we had a good conversation, and I was like, you know, our first meeting, at the end of the conversation, he's like, do you have any questions? And I was like, actually, yes, I do. I was like, you know, the first time we met, you seemed to kind of have a little bit of an issue with me coming to work being a female and me being a smaller person and all that. And I was like, you know, I know this was like 2020 or 21 or whatever it was. I was like, I know, you know, it's whatever year it was. And things are wonky in the world. I said, but I'm still a woman and that hasn't changed. So is that going to be an issue? And he was like, well, no. He's like, I'm in a different headspace now, blah, blah, blah. So funny thing is, you know, we had a few conversations over the phone, and I kept going back and forth in my own brain, like, do I want to do this? Do I want to leave, you know, my own mining? And I kind of have my own freedom doing what I want to do right now. Do I want to leave this to go do TV? And at this point, I was still terrified of cameras. So that was like a huge factor for me. And so I kept going back and forth in my brain, like, I don't know if I want to do this. I don't know if this is a good choice for me. And I was in the middle of writing out a message to actually decline the offer. And I was almost done typing out this message, and I was about to send it, and my boyfriend calls me, and he's like, what are you doing? And I was like, well, I'm about to send a message saying, you know, thank you so much for considering me for the opportunity, but I think I'm going to pass. And he was like, you know, I'd really reconsider that. He was like, at least just try it out. If you don't like it, you don't have to keep doing it, but at least give it 1 year. He's like, because you never know, you might end up liking it, or you never know where it's going to take you. And I was like, you know what? You're right. I'll at least give it a shot. So I deleted my message and I sent the opposite message. And the rest is history.
Good boyfriend.
So
but
he talked me into it because I was on the fence and I was like, I don't know. I don't know if I want to do this. And so I went, and the first couple weeks were pretty tough as far as just being on camera, like because it was something I wasn't used to, and I used to be like really shy when it came to cameras. So that was like the worst part for me, was the cameras in my face. So it was really hard for me at first to kind of like break out of my shell and like get used to talking and be comfortable. After like the first month or so, like I got pretty comfortable. The second year, I was just like, whatever, there's a camera. Didn't even notice.
okay. It
So
just
it's
being
something you definitely warm up to after a while, but it was pretty tough the first few weeks with having cameras.
Minor Ma Gold. She has a question. Ask her if she could make a dream team. Who would you want to mine with, if anyone?
Um, that's kind of a hard question. I do a lot of solo mining, but I do also work with my boyfriend, and he's a workhorse. He's a machine when he's dredging. So he's like a excellent partner. So when we team up, we get a lot done. But I haven't really put a lot of thought into like, if I wasn't mining with him, who would I mine with? That would be kind of a tough one.
Okay.
I just get
Gale,
really weird about mining
archaeology
with
and
people.
gold. Right. And well, you have to be very careful. I've seen both sides, the ugly and the good, that gold and prospecting mining can do to someone. So
Yeah, and some people get weird about it, and then some people you just can't trust. I guess if there would have to be some ground rules, as far as like it would have to be neutral territory. Like I don't want to bring people I'm not really familiar with to my own claims. So if it was
that
like neutral ground, then I'd probably consider it.
that's totally understandable. Totally.
I've just had
Now
issues in the past with people, like I've had issues with guys trying to follow me around. So
I
I get
believe
a
it.
little protective when it comes to my mining.
Pack that heat. Pack that heat. I hope that answers your question, Minor Ma. Gail, archaeology and gold. She's wondering what part of North Carolina were you in?
Oh, so I lived in North Carolina for almost 13 years. I bounced around a little bit, moving. I lived in a few different counties, but it all was kind of centralized in kind of the middle of the state. When I first moved there, I moved to Guilford County near Greensboro. And then I went to school in Montgomery County. So I lived down there because I was going to Montgomery Community College. So I lived down there for a while. And I lived in Randolph County. So these are all like touching counties in the central part of the state. But all within that gold
Okay.
belt, that central gold belt. There's
Well,
a slate
I
belt that runs through
notice.
North Carolina right there. And there's
I
some pretty
actually
good
think.
gold.
I actually think the last time you were on, you were wearing a shirt or a hoodie from Carolina Gold Prospectors, my friend Bill and Mary's place
Yeah,
in
I love Bill. He's
Statesville.
awesome. I used to go in his shop all the time.
Bill and Mary are both wonderful people that I'm very proud to call my friends.
I bought my first dredge from
Very
Bill.
proud. Nice. Way to go, Bill. Good man.
That was a long time
Yeah,
ago.
I see Bill and Mary once or twice a year. Um, they've been good friends of mine in my channel for quite a while.
Yeah, he's a
Let me.
really good person, and he's really supportive of the prospecting community, and he's good about like helping people out. He'll, help people get in touch with other people if they're wanting to get out and prospect. He's a good, honest source if you're looking to sell raw gold too. He buys gold, he buys coins, stuff like that. He's bought several mineral specimens from me in the past when I lived in North Carolina. I'd sell him stuff to put in his store. He's a really good person.
Yeah. That'd be on Mary's side of the store.
Yeah.
That's my crystal, Bill. Yeah, great couple. I trust them with my life. So if you're ever in Statesville, stop by Carolina Gold Prospector. Yeah. And say hi to Bill. Let him know Ed from Flash in Your Pan and Kayla Johanson sent.
I gotta tell him I need a new hoodie. Mine's wearing out.
Better message him. I'm sure he'll send out some. Willie Shiny Gold's wondering, did you have your YouTube channel developed at that point? Or is that fairly new?
I just started my YouTube channel this past spring. I think in like April I started it. March or April, somewhere around there.
March, April, May, somewhere in there.
Yeah, it was before May because it was right when I started spring mining, and I started around the end of March. So it was somewhere right when I started mining for the year. So it was sometime in either late March or mid-April, I think, that I started putting it together.
I know, Willie, I could have answered that question for you, but I thought I'd let her do it.
And the thing is too, like, I kept talking about wanting to do a YouTube channel for like a year and a half, and I was like, oh, well, I don't know what I'm doing. So I kept pushing it back and pushing it back. But I'm the kind of person that's like, don't wait until you can't wait till you think you're good at something to try it. Like, you just have to go for it. And so finally I was like, you know what? I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm just going to do it.
You're right.
Editing is kind of crappy on some of the videos because I was learning as I went, but it was still fun.
Don't worry about it, Kayla, because it don't matter who you are or how good they are now. Their first videos, their first editing is crap unless they came right out of the movie and film industry as an editor or something and say, oh, I think I'll start my YouTube channel. We all start at zero and we're all beginner editors. And I like your content, so keep it up when you have time. And pay attention to that mining and stuff, because the gold mining in your Etsy store is what pays your bills. And
yeah, that's kind of what happened. Is like I had some unexpected stuff pop up over the summer, and I kind of had to focus on what was making me money at the time. And I have enough subscribers on YouTube to monetize, but my watch hours weren't up there yet. So since it wasn't it wasn't making me money yet, I didn't have time to like focus on what at the time is just a hobby. And I had to focus on what was actually making me money.
Well, now it's winter time and you'll be dredging less and creating more.
Yeah.
If you have subscribers, I know they cut down the amount of subscribers you need to be monetized to like 500, I think.
I think it's 1,000.
Compared to what it used to be. But for that watch time, live streaming would help
Oh, does
drastically.
that actually count towards your watch hours?
Yes,
Oh, I
yes,
didn't
it
know that.
does. And if you set up like a phone on a stand at your work area, wrapping and stuff, it could be faceless videos, just you there being like a hand model, doing your work, wrapping and creating. Um, Never know, you might blow up, be like Dan Hurd or something with 1 million subs, and
I
yeah.
have, I think, like 23 or 2400. It's really slowed down over the last few months just because I haven't been putting any new videos out. But when I was putting videos out, my subscribers were growing fairly rapidly because I got 2300 within the first 2 months.
No, that's good. And I know you did quite a few shorts, and that
Yeah.
helps get you out there. Um, right on. I just hope the best for you no matter which way you go, Kayla, because in my eyes, and many of the other people out there, I'm sure would agree with me, you are more than just Kayla Johanson, who was once on Gold Rush Whitewater. You have put yourself on the map as um, inspiration for young ladies. I've heard it in comments already for people's daughters and for guys like me that don't care if you're a man or a woman, and if you can do the job, go get it, girl. You're a modern legend to me and to many, I'm sure.
Well, I appreciate it. I don't know. I don't see myself as that. So sometimes it's kind of weird when I hear stuff like that. Not weird, but like it's flattering. But like I'm just doing what's normal to me. So for me, I just feel like I'm normal, but I know that not everybody has the same work and lifestyle that I have, if that even makes sense. But like to me, I'm just, I'm just being Kayla.
I'm reading some of the chat, Kayla,
Oh,
and it sucks that my StreamYard chat, where I can highlight chat, isn't showing.
oh no.
Uh,
But like I can't
and
really imagine myself really doing anything else than what I do.
well, that's cool. I hope you do it for as long as you can. Willie Shiny Gold has a good point, but I think you have pretty thick skin and you could brush it off, and you're pretty tough, Kayla. Willie Shiny Gold says the YouTube audience is like 90% male, especially in our niche. Um, so they always want to try to tell you, a chick, what to do or how to do it. I'm
Oh,
starting to
I get that
paraphrase.
every day.
She's got to be tough. She is tough.
I get that every day. I got so much hate. I mean, I obviously got a lot of love and support being on Gold Rush, but I got so much unnecessary hate as well. And there are more guys that are really cool about it and really supportive and really like they think it's awesome that a female can do the things that I do. But there's also a dark side. Luckily, the
Yeah,
numbers of support outweigh the dark numbers, but there are some really nasty people out there that are, you know, I
remember
had
it's
people
your
actually say that
channel.
they want to drown me in the river. If they ever met me, they'd hold my head underwater and want to drown me in the river and things like that. So it's like there's
Wow.
definitely a nasty side to putting yourself out there. And it's on all sides of the spectrum. It doesn't really matter if you're male or female. When you put yourself out there in the public eye, there are going to be hateful people, no matter what you are or what you're doing. And so that's something that you kind of just have to accept. But I do think that it's a little bit different being a female doing something that not necessarily is like a man's thing, but that's more male dominated. Because prospecting isn't gender specific. Anybody can do it, you know, but typically it's viewed as, you know, it's more of a male population within the prospecting community and mining community. So as a female going into something that's more male dominated like that, there's a different kind of like hate that you receive from certain people, which
well, this might make
you have to be able
feel
to accept it and brush it off, because those people are low lives and they have nothing better to do
right.
than to people down.
Don't feed the trolls, or you let the ones that support you and are part of your community devour them in the comments.
Yeah.
Justin, I'm trying to keep up with chat and get a look at it here and there while I can. You very well might really like this comment and appreciate it, Kayla. I get asked if it was weird having Kayla as a boss. I didn't care that she was my boss. She is solid gold, miner, and knows what she is doing.
Thanks, Justin.
Now you're making her blush, Justin. Come on.
Yeah, like I said, I definitely got my fair share of hate mail. And then, you know, there's a lot of sexism and, you know, oh, you should be in a kitchen making the men a sandwich while they're the ones mining because you're worthless, you know, stuff like that. But I try not to let any of it get to me, because those people that think that way and have to express themselves that way online, usually they're miserable people. And they have nothing going for them.
I have a question from the woman behind the curtain. What was that? What did you just say?
How tough was the first year, and what made you decide to stick it out?
She wants to know how tough was the first year and what made you decide to stick it out? You know, you could sign on to YouTube and ask there.
The first year,
make sure you hit the like. Sorry, Kayla.
Oh, it's fine. The first year was a little tough just because I was trying to figure out my place. And then 3 weeks into being there, being put in charge of a crew, and I'm the only woman there. I was, not by much, but I was the youngest person there and the smallest person there. So there was a lot of pushback by pretty much everybody on my crew.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, when I first took over that crew, there was a lot of pushback, and in different ways. Like each person had their own way that they kind of tried to challenge, or I don't want to say disrespect, because I didn't get too much disrespect. It was more, well, some of it was disrespect, but it was more like each person had their own way of like not wanting to listen to me, or not wanting to, I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain. For example, like Scott and I, we kind of, at the end of the season, we ended up getting along. But when I first took over that crew, he thought he was going to run the crew, even though he didn't really have mining experience.
Mm-hmm.
And so it kind of put a thorn in his side at first that I was running the crew. But at that point, I had, let's see, that was 4 years ago almost. So I've been prospecting for, next year will be 19 years. So for quite a while.
Few years under your belt, that's for sure.
Yeah. So at that time, I had been prospecting for 15 years, and I had been dredging for like 8 years. So, I had quite a bit of experience as far as the prospecting and the understanding gold and the geology of it and things like that. So I had a little bit of experience when it came to that, and I had more experience than most of the people on my crew. But there was definitely some pushback. There was definitely not wanting to listen to me. There was some eye rolls. There was a lot. So the first year was kind of tough, especially the first like 2 months, just because I was first off still getting used to the cameras. And then at the same time as trying to get used to the cameras, trying to find like, okay, where do I fit in here? But then also once I took over that crew, trying to figure out how to deal with these men that don't necessarily want me in charge. So it was kind of a fine dance of like figuring out, okay, how do I maneuver these situations? Towards the end of the year, it ended up working out, but it took a little while to kind of get a flow going. But about that first month that I was running that crew, there was definitely a lot of pushback. And then one of the guys ended up leaving, which I think everyone was glad that he did. And then we ended up getting Paul, and he was definitely my favorite person that I worked with on my crew that year. Because once Eric left, Paul came in and kind of took his place, and then we ended up meshing really well. Like we work together really well. We understand like what needs to be done. I say something needs to be done, he knows how to do it. Like it was just very streamlined. So that was an easy transition, him coming in.
How was the turnover in the show?
You mean
was
like
there with participants or potential participants? To be honest, if I watch any of the Gold Rush stuff, it's over at Gold Prospector Space in a watch party with my friends over there.
Yeah, I did a few of those because Brian had invited me over to them before.
Right. So
some of the people on the show are certain people can be difficult to deal with, so there definitely has been turnover.
I would have thought there would have been a little,
myself included, because some people were difficult to deal with. So.
Well, we're only human. We don't get along with everybody, unfortunately, at times.
Yeah.
But geez, some people are just awful to work with and get along with. And
yeah.
Mine is sometimes if you're not on the job, it's totally different, but to actually work with, it's like, oh my God, can't believe I call you a friend. So.
that's why people say it's a bad idea to bring friends on as a business partner or a
family
to have them work for you, because then if you got to fire them, are you still friends?
Right. I appreciate you keep on posting that, AAA Rockhound. Like AAA said, please tag me, just like he's doing in the chat with your questions. It pops out at me, just like when I tag you. Justin says, I like to think I was her favorite, but I know Paul knew the ropes of their thing already.
I liked working with Justin. I got along with him pretty well. I think it was just more of a streamlined flow with Paul just because he had already worked there previously. So he kind of already knew the ropes, so to speak. But I got along with both Paul and Justin really well.
Nice. Where do you know my friend Ryan?
What's that?
Ryan Cordoza.
Oh, I've been Facebook friends with him since for a long time, actually. Before he was even on the show, I was Facebook friends with him when I was living in North Carolina. I think just from we had mutual friends from
YouTube or
gold
something?
prospecting.
Oh,
So we've
yeah,
just been friends on Facebook for a long time.
he actually made one of my first channel arts for my channel.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I know him from when he was still in Portland area. So
He is actually the one that put me in touch with Justin. When I was moving to Alaska, he found out I was moving to Alaska because both of them had been living in Alaska for quite a while. They had both moved to Alaska, I think from Oregon. And I was already friends with Ryan, and he was like, here's the contact of this person if you ever need anything. Justin's just a good person to know in the area. So he's actually the one that put me in touch with Justin. That's how me and Justin became friends.
oh, cool. Brian Wilder, American Gold Prospector, wants to know, was it Justin that took all the credit for cutting all the wood that you cut?
No, that was James. And honestly, I don't think he didn't say that he cut the wood, but he posted a picture, and I wasn't being mean. I was just like lightheartedly teasing him. He posted a picture of him on this chair with all this firewood surrounding him. And what happened was everyone went to town that weekend, and I decided to stay back at camp over the weekend, and I stayed there by myself. And we were low on firewood, so I was like, you know what? I like cutting firewood. So all weekend I cut like a ton of firewood for our camp. And everyone came back and was like, oh my God, where did all this wood come from? And I'm like, from me, I cut it. And so he had a picture of him sitting in this chair. So it looked like he was in a throne, like surrounded by firewood. And he posted a picture. I think it said something, it was just something silly, like King of the Firewood or something like that. And I was totally just teasing him because, like, just friendly banter, like, oh, King of the Firewood that I cut while everyone else went to town. And then it just blew up. It became this thing online and people chiming in, and it was a lighthearted joke. It wasn't meant to be mean.
Right on.
But yeah, you know how people online get and they get all defensive, and there was a lot of people coming and chiming in, and it was like I was just making a joke, but yes, I did cut all that wood.
All right, get your questions in, everybody. Justin says, she's a beast at cutting wood. I tried to help while staying out of her way. He certainly runs a saw better than me. I never really ran one.
Well,
Mr.
in the
Lodak
winter,
one. Oh, go ahead.
during the winter, when I'm not mining, I have a friend that sells firewood that I work with sometimes. So he cuts down all the trees, and I cut my own firewood. Like when I was staying in a cabin while mining, all I had was a wood stove, so I would cut all my own firewood. But in the winter, I work with my friend. He cuts down all the trees in like 3 to 4 foot, sometimes 5 foot lengths, depending on how thick the tree is. And I load up all the logs and sleds, and I haul the sleds out of the woods. It's snowy, so you could pull the sled, but I sled all the logs out of the woods and load the trucks. So he's doing the cutting, and I'm doing all the the grunt work. So I'm the Balto of the wood world. I get to pull the wood sled.
Ellsworth, good to see you, buddy. Give Lacey and the other girls a hug and good night. Thanks for being here, buddy. Oh, and Dustin Spears says hugs and loves and kisses to all the family. I worked his show a couple of months back. Let me see.
You had
Mr. Lodak.
You had one question you were gonna ask, but I was talking about the firewood.
Yeah. Mr. Lodak wants a scary story. What was the most, to date, the most frightening experience you've had while you've been out mining?
The most frightening? About I think it's been about 3 years now. 3 years ago, I was out with my boyfriend sniping, and this was in, I want to say, late winter or early spring. It might have been early March, I'm not sure, but there was huge ice shelves on the river still. Like the ice benches on the sides were like 10 to 12 feet high. And we were out sniping, and we've done that a lot, so we had no issue, and we'd swim back and forth across the river, through the current and stuff. And there was one incident where he swam across first, and I went right behind him to swim. And when I got to the other side, the current kind of caught me, and I could reach the bottom. So I was like, oh, it's no big deal. I'll just, put my feet down and grab something. It's fine. Well, I went to put my feet down, and it was just smooth and slick. And so I couldn't get any grip on my feet. But there was this one like thin boulder that was like, it was like a really thin rock sticking straight up, and I was able to get one hand like gripped on it. And I'm wearing those, like, I don't know if you've seen them, but they're like the mitt style dive gloves, not the individual finger ones.
Right.
So you have like the 3 fingers in one, then your pointer finger and your thumb are individual. So it's like the mitt style. So it's kind of hard to get as good a grip on certain things in those. Well, I grabbed onto the boulder that was sticking up, and I was holding on to it. And I have like a full face snorkel mask on. And he's already climbing up the ice bank. And so he can't see me because his back's turned to me. He's climbing up, and I cannot get my footing, and the current is really strong right there. And I am like holding on with dear life with the one hand, and I'm like, my head is like underwater, and like my snorkel's barely sticking out of the water. And I'm like trying everything to get his attention because I cannot get my grip. I can't get my footing. I can't get anything. And I'm yelling, but it's hard to hear because we have really thick dive hoods on. We have the masks on, so it's hard to hear. I'm like slapping the water. I'm slapping the ice with my other hand, like trying anything to get his attention. And finally, he like turns around and realizes what's going on. And he tries to reach down towards me. And as soon as he does, I lose my grip on the rock.
Ooh.
And behind me, the river pinched, and there was an ice bench that went out across the river there. And I actually got pushed under the ice.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. And all I could think, like, when you're in a situation like that, it's like time goes in slow motion. Like, I'm sure it was just a few seconds or, 20 seconds or however long. It wasn't like minutes. But in your brain, when you're in that kind of situation, like, time just slows down. So it kind of felt like forever. But all I could think was like, uh-oh, what if like this ice bench formed because there's bedrock sticking up, or there's a tree or something that's going to snag me and I'm going to be stuck under there, and there's current pushing against me. So it's not like I can come back upstream to get out. So I'm like, if there's no exit on this other side, I'm going to be stuck under there. And luckily there was nothing blocking the way. So I just kind of got pushed under and rode under, and then finally popped out. and all I could see was him running across the ice and run down and jump into the river and come and grab me. But that was probably one of the scariest moments because I didn't know if I'd get trapped under there. And the ice was, like I said, it was 10 to 12 feet thick. So there was no breaking. Like if I got stuck under there, it's not like just take a hammer and break me out. There was no way.
Right.
So that was definitely one of the most scary moments. We definitely do things a little bit differently now when we go out. We have a rule, like we make our crossings way farther upstream from any obstructions. And also we do like one person at a time. The other person turns around and watches to make sure the other person makes it okay. So that way each of us always has eyes on the other person when we're crossing. So we definitely changed our protocol a little bit after that.
What could have ended up being a very sad and heartbreaking experience ended up being a very important learning experience.
Yeah.
And you've changed.
It took me a while after that to be able to swim across the river anymore. Because every time I'd swim across any kind of current, like I'd feel like my heart racing, like I was about to have a panic attack. And it took me a good year of practicing swimming across the river. Like before, I would still do it. It didn't stop me from doing it, but I hated it. I hated swimming after that. But now I've gone out and practiced and like swam across the river back and forth. And I'm like, okay, you can't be in this type of mining and be scared of swimming in the water.
Good point. True.
So, and it's only swimming. It's not diving. When I have weights on, I go underwater. It doesn't bother me the least bit. It was just like swimming. When you're free swimming, that's what was bothering me. And so I just had to practice swimming across the river. And finally I'll still get a little flutter. Like my heart will speed up a little bit, like adrenaline.
But nothing like it was.
It's not like on the verge of having a full-blown panic attack swimming across the river.
Right. I don't think she'll let you know all of that information, Gold Hunter 77 from the coast of Oregon, but he would like to know, how many claims does Kayla have? And does she prospect her own claims? We've already gone over this, I know, but
I have quite a few claims. A few miles actually of waterway.
On No Tell 'em Creek, so you'll never know where they're at.
But I work my own claims, but I also have access to other claims as well. But I have a few miles of waterway.
Right on. Very good. My chat just jumped. Doggone it. Try and find. I had something. Heading down to the next one, and my chat jumped.
And then I had a scare. I actually had a scare about a week ago.
Oh, tell us about it.
It was an animal scare. I was working on my dredge on the bank, putting stuff together, and all of a sudden I had the box taken off because I was working on drilling new holes to mount my motors because I had an old 6-inch Keen dredge that used to be a single motor dredge, but I bought the saddles to convert it to a dual motor. So I have a dual engine setup now instead of the single motor. And I was out there with my drill and I had drilled new holes to seat the engine plates on there. And I was like mounting the engines and I was like crouched down in between the frame and the floats. I had the frame and floats all put together, but the box wasn't in there. So I was like crouched down in between. And all of a sudden I heard this like rustling and I turn around, there's a moose running right at me.
Ooh.
And not everybody has had experience with moose, but they can be pretty temperamental, especially if you spook them. They're notorious for like trying to stomp people, and like they just have really bad attitudes if you spook them. And this moose came running. It wasn't like a full blown like speed run. It was more like a fast trot, but it was like running right at me. And it came from this other side of the bush that was right next to me, and I had nowhere to hide. There was no big trees, there was nothing, and I'm like, okay. At the time, I was just working on my dredge. I wasn't actually like in the river yet. I was like 30 or 40 feet from my truck, and I normally have my gun. I have a chest harness, and I have my gun right on my chest normally, and I had taken it off to do something. So it was laying in the front seat of my truck, and this moose came barreling through, and it stopped 20 feet from me and just stood there staring at me. And I'm like, okay, crap, what do I do? Because I don't want to move fast and spook it because it's so close. I'm not going to have time to get away from it. And so I'm just like sitting there like, crap, I'm in a pickle here. So I like stand up super slow, and I didn't want to like turn around and run because I didn't want to scare it. So I'm like moving super slow, and I'm just like, okay, the only thing I can think of to do is like, there's nowhere to hide. Just like tiptoe backwards and try to get to my truck and get in the truck. So I'm like tiptoeing backwards while I'm still looking at the moose and trying not to startle it. And I like tiptoe back to my truck, get in the truck, and I just sit there, and it just keeps standing there staring at me. I think what happened was it was running towards the water to want to cross to eat on the other side, and it didn't know I was there. I don't think it was like running for me. I think it was just running to go eat, and then realized I was there once it was right next to me, and then was like, oh crap, there's something here. And then I was like, oh crap, there's a moose here. So we were both just kind of like in shock. But once I got in the truck, I was like, okay, at least I'm in my truck. I'm out of harm's way. So I just waited like 5 minutes, and it finally went away. And then I went back to working, but I was like, okay, you need to like not take your gun off anymore.
That would be smart. And Justin just said it. Moose are more of a spook than bears. And I hear they can be very dangerous.
Yeah.
Very dangerous. AAA Rockhound says mooses are more scary than bears. Yeah.
They're just very unpredictable.
I'm going to read a comment from my friend Damon, West Coast Gold Prospecting. Had a king salmon try to climb over my back while sniping.
I had one headbutt me right in the butt. That was a surprise.
Had a salmon goose you, huh?
Well, you know, I was like kind of like
what the
on
heck?
my knees, like kind of bent forward, and there was a wear spot in my suit. So I had like one white spot on my butt where I'd put 5200 on it. So I think it was like thinking it was something to eat or something. And it like full blown, like full speed, just like rammed me right in the butt. And I was like, whoa. It was a surprise. But
I could imagine. I could imagine. Kenneth Osley would like to know what kind of current are you dredging in most of the time?
it really just depends. Depends on the spot that I'm at. Sometimes I'm in current so fast that you can't even turn your head sideways because it wants to rip your mask off. And then other times, like especially later, like early spring and late fall, when it gets cold and the water gets really low, some of those more rapid rivers, the water levels drop and they get a lot calmer, so they'll be a lot more manageable. And then there's some smaller creeks that I work that have some really swift areas, you know, that have the white caps. And then certain areas are just like a slow stream. But one of the tricks to dredging is kind of creating sort of like a rock wall or a dam behind your dredge, and that'll make like a calmer pool, so it's more manageable.
Right. Yeah, it could be scary getting your mask torn off.
Yeah.
I've had
Or
that
like
happen to me a long time ago.
sometimes the current's so strong, like you just have to know, like I don't have too much issue with it just because I'm used to it now, but it was definitely a learning curve because you just have to know like how to maneuver your body against that water and that force to not get lifted, because it wants to lift you like a sail and like drag you backwards. But a lot of it, like I've learned, especially like when I get way out in the middle and I'm under like those white caps, is like, you know, you lead with your head. Don't leave your head up like this where it just opens up your chest, because then it grabs it like a sail and then you just get taken back. So you kind of like lead with your head in like a streamline. So you're wanting to go like against the flow. You're not wanting to go up and down to where you have a bigger mass for it to push on. You kind of want to be streamlined with the water.
So I would take it when you're dredging, you're particularly safe with terracing your hole and being aware of all the boulders. Unlike some dredgers, how they like get
Dig
tunnel
straight down.
vision and dig straight down till they hit bedrock. And
No,
so,
normally, like if I know it's a deep spot, I'll spend a day opening up the top and get a wide area opened up on the top. And then I try to keep it like kind of a slope going down instead of a straight up and down wall. And, you know, when you first get in every day, you know, definitely be aware, do your perimeter check, look around and say, okay, where are my threats? This boulder here is a threat. So that's the first thing I need to address. It's just all about like situational awareness, knowing what's around you, knowing what can happen, and not necessarily that those things will happen, but just knowing what can happen and just preparing for that. So it's just mostly just situational awareness, making sure that you know what's around you and try to make it as safe as possible. I try not to dig straight down like potholes,
right.
because that's just asking for something to happen.
It's like digging a coyote hole or something.
Yeah.
Good way to end up buried.
Yeah, that's just asking for bad things to happen to you.
Now, do you take like a boulder net with you and chains and
Not
a
usually. I normally
winch?
move everything with a bar.
And so no boulders almost as big as Volkswagens or anything like that.
Actually, this year I moved the biggest boulder I've ever moved by myself. It was about 5.5 to 6 feet long, about 4 feet wide, and 2 to 3 feet deep. I didn't
Good
post it,
sized
but
boulder.
I have some videos. Well, I might have posted some photos of it, but that was this summer. And honestly, I didn't even think I'd get it moved. But
Do you dredge a hole and undermine it a little, then move it over?
yeah, so what I did was I dredged the perimeter all around it. So I dredged all in front of it, all behind it, all around it to make sure I got all the corners exposed. And then once I did that, I don't undermine any boulder until I know how deep it is. Because if you don't know the width or the depth of that boulder and you're undermining, you might go too far to where it's no longer supported. So I always make sure, like if I'm going to undermine a boulder, I make sure I know where the back end of it is, because I don't want to go 80% undermined and have it fall on me.
Right. That wouldn't be good.
So I always make sure I do the perimeter first before I really undermine. And also when I'm undermining too, I don't put my body under it. So if I have to like say here's the boulder, like right here in front of me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'll keep my hand on the boulder like this, and I have the dredge nozzle in my other hand like this, and I'll feed it under, but my legs are way back out of harm's way, and my hands right here, because if I feel a shift in that boulder, I can push myself back. I can push off of it. So I don't ever put my body under it.
Well, you're smart, and you don't really get tunnel vision and blinded by the gold, so to speak.
Yeah, there's just a lot of little tricks like that. Like, you know, it's dangerous. No matter how you look at it, it's a dangerous job, but there are ways to make it less risky. So I just try to figure out every little way to make it less dangerous. And also too, like if you're working by yourself, if something does happen, you know, a tank of gas only lasts 2 hours.
Right.
So
and
you get yourself
you're
in.
under there, and your reserve tank isn't all that big either.
The reserve tank is only maybe 5 breaths
right.
after the tank goes off.
It's not much at all.
So,
Mi amigo David Villa, we're kind of in the same area. What's your average depth you work?
It really varies. I have some areas where there might only be a foot or two of material in bedrock. I have other areas where it might be 10 feet or more. It just, there's such a variation in spot to spot, even if it's the same creek. Like you can just have so much variation.
Right.
Just moving 20 feet, you never know.
What's the deepest you've dived so far?
On my own mining, doing like 10 to 12 feet of overburden. I don't typically like to go too much more than that because usually you're dealing with so much overburden that you can't expose enough bedrock to make it worthwhile for the work.
Mm-hmm.
Typically, there are exceptions to that rule, but I think the deepest I did was when I was working on the show, and we did 22 feet.
Was that in a plunge hole?
No. It was just that much overburden.
Now I'm curious if someone out of the blue, like say my friend Kevin, who still dredges on the Bering Sea, asked if you want to come up and dredge on the Bering Sea. Not in front of cameras or nothing. Don't have to be with Vern or Pomeranke or whoever. Just you going up on a dredge, would you?
At some point I might consider it. Right now, I don't think I want to. Just because I have my own projects going on that I want to see finished.
Right.
And I don't know. I get a sense of pride of finishing my own projects. And I'm more proud of like finishing my own projects than going and like working on somebody else's project.
All Things Country, Canadian friend of ours, has a question for you, Kayla. It's coming from him. He's, as a weekend prospecting, plebe? What the heck's that, Canadian? And an outdoorsman, I've had the privilege of prospecting, fishing, and hunting in Alaska. What did Kayla do for fun there? What do you do for fun in AK when you're not mining and making jewelry?
I mine for fun.
He mines for fun, all things.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I'm really passionate about it, and even though yes, it is my work, but it's also my fun. Like that's my. But I like to go mushroom foraging, so I forage for mushrooms, and I like berry picking, and I like stuff like that.
So no like hella skiing or snowboarding or backcountry skiing or snowboarding or anything like that?
I don't know. I've I've not been bitten by the bug with skiing and stuff. I've tried it and it's okay, but
I want that gold.
it doesn't even like obviously gold, yes, but it doesn't even have to be gold. I think I just like searching for things.
Well, yeah, you've seemed like a well-rounded treasure hunter. We've
Yeah.
talked about
So
you liking.
I'll take a trip like this past February. I went on a road trip with my best friend and we went all over the desert digging different minerals. And so we dug like amethyst crystals, quartz crystals, agates, chalcedony, just all different kinds of stuff. And we just explored all over and went camping and stuff. And that was really fun. So like, I like doing stuff like that. But I have cross country skis, and sometimes my dog has a harness, so I'll take her ski joring sometimes. But she's starting to get older. She's gonna be 14 this coming summer, so she's starting to get a little old. But I mean, she still likes to get out and do it. She just can't run in the snow quite as hard as she used to.
She's with you while you work too, right?
Yeah,
Watching the bank.
yeah. The only time I don't take her to work is like if it's pouring down rain, because she doesn't like to just sit there when it's pouring down rain. Or like
Can't blame her.
when I'm dredging this time of year and it's cold, like it's in the 20s, I don't bring her because she's getting older and just sitting on the bank in 20-degree weather, she just sits there shivering. Even if I put her jacket on her, it's just not pleasant for her. But spring through fall, I'll take her to work with me just about every day as long as it's not storming. And she just hangs out on the bank and she watches out for people and bears. And she's run off some bears. Not this summer, but the summer before. She ran off a brown bear that came right up on me.
It's good to have her around. How is she as a dredge tender or a tender for your box? She work good?
If I could teach her to dive,
You get her on the nozzle too? Kristen's wondering what dry suit would you recommend?
I like using. Now I'm in really cold conditions, so like if I was dredging somewhere warm, I'd probably use something different. But for what I do, I like using a neoprene dry suit just because it adds that extra layer of insulation. But I use a Bear dry suit.
There you go, Kristen. Bear dry
And then
suit.
I layer underneath, so I'll wear different like layers of wool and fleece. And then recently I
Okay.
started wearing these like battery operated heated socks. And they don't necessarily make your feet hot, but I just noticed that my toes never get cold anymore.
Oh, that's good. That's
Yeah, and if you
good.
put them on medium, like they last, I think on low they last up to like 16 hours. I think on medium is like 8 or 10 hours. And then high obviously drains the battery faster. It's only like 5 hours, but I usually can. And they come with like a little remote too, so I can have them on in my suit and then not turn them on until I'm getting in the water.
Oh,
And I usually
nice.
put them on medium, and that lasts for like 8 hours, 8 or 9 hours, and my feet never get cold, even when I'm diving in like 20-degree weather.
Brian Wilder made a comment, not a question. It's after the question about what you like to do for fun and stuff. Brian Wilder says she likes playing with her nuggets. And don't every gold miner,
Don't we
Brian?
all?
Right? Duh.
Yeah, sometimes I'll get my own little jars of gold out and be like, ooh, I haven't seen this piece in a while. I mean, it's kind of the same like when I unwrap mineral specimens that have been packed away for years, and then I'm like, oh, I haven't seen this piece in 4 years, and it
Well,
feels like
like before
Christmas.
the show, you're like, this feels like Christmas.
Yeah.
Why gold, Rob? One, do you prefer a full face mask or the regular mask and
I
regulator?
only use full face masks just because of the temperature of the water that I'm in. Also, I used to always get like sore spots in my mouth when I'd have to have the bite on regulators, like when you have to bite on the
Mhm.
mouthpiece. It would make my gums kind of raw.
Makes
So
sense.
I like using the full face mask because you don't have to be biting anything with your mouth the whole time, and also none of your face is in the open water. And then also with a full face mask too, you can even breathe through your nose, whereas a mouthpiece you have to train yourself to only breathe in and out of your mouth, and your mouth can get really dry.
Right.
So I prefer the full face masks. Even with my snorkel, I have a full face mask snorkel.
There you go, Why Gold. Uh, Moto Mining from Vancouver Island's talking about lubing up for wets, putting on a wetsuit. They have rash guards and stuff for that, or like David Villa says, use pantyhose, lubing up your wetsuit.
Well, I wear a dry suit, so I don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, and you, like you said, you wear several base layers, not
Yeah,
just
so like I have
one.
like a really thin base layer, like legging and shirt that I wear, and then I'll wear usually like a wool shirt, like a thinner wool shirt over that, and then I'll wear like fleece lined leggings, and then I have like these. If it's like like now when it's like cold, like 20 degrees, then I have thicker layers I put on top of all that. So I have like these pants that are like Sherpa lined pants, and then I wear a thick pair of wool socks, my heated socks, and then another thick pair of wool socks. So I make sure like when I get my dry suits, I order the boots like 2 sizes bigger than my normal shoe size so that I can layer and fit it.
There
Because
you go.
otherwise, if you order the boots to your actual shoe size, you can only wear like 1 pair of socks and then your feet get cold. So
Hey.
I'm a big fan of layering. And then I wear like this big, thick, like really plush fleece over my wool shirt.
Layering's the way to go.
Yeah.
And don't wear cotton out there. Cotton kills. Um, Gold Hunter 77. I was wondering, have you ever found, while dredging, any relics, coins, pickheads,
Found
anything
Indian
like that?
artifacts, especially when I lived in North Carolina.
I've actually found 2 arrowheads here in the Midwest prospecting.
Oh, nice. I have a bunch. I actually have quite a big collection of artifacts. I'd find some of them while I was prospecting, and then also I used to walk farm fields and stuff and look for them.
Cool. You are a well-rounded treasure hunter.
Yeah.
Crystals, bottles, gold, artifacts.
I mean, gold was my first love, and that's kind of what I think that was like my gateway drug. And then once I started gold prospecting, and then I started looking for other things or I'd stumble upon other things along the way and be like, oh, this is cool. And then I'd start looking for those things too. And then it just kind of spiraled.
Nice. I and I remember you found your very first nugget on the San Gabriel River,
Yep.
and that's
Eastport,
when
San
you
Gabriel
could
River.
dredge
I wasn't
back in the
dredging
day.
there. We were hand digging, we were sluicing, and then sniping. And this is actually it right here on my neck.
Yeah.
But that was found sniping. on East Fork San Gabriel River, and I had found gold before that, but that was the first nugget that I found.
That's right. Sniping. Yeah. Do you do any bench mining, small scale bench mining, or are you strictly dredging?
I've done a little bit of poking around here and there. Last year, I found this really cool. I have some photos of it. I think I posted it. I found a really cool fault line up on a bench, and I was digging that out just as a little mini side project. And I was finding gold in that, and that was kind of fun. And I've done a little bit of metal detecting, but there's just something about being underwater and like being able to see everything. Like when I move a rock, I see how everything's layered and stratified, and like I see the clay layers, and I see the hard pan, and I see the bedrock, and you see how the gold is sitting and where it's situated. That makes it exciting for me.
It is a whole different world under the water.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes it does add a layer of difficulty dealing with the water, but the visual, I think, is like part of what makes it exciting for me.
Very nice. And you showed your one nugget from the one your first you have on your net. You showed some other goodies. I'm surprised they haven't been yelling at me in the chat for more gold porn or treasure porn.
Well, I have some big crystals that I can show that I found.
Justin says she would be singing Under the Sea, dredging.
Yeah, I sing songs when I'm dredging sometimes.
Cool. Hey, hum, sing, whistle while you work.
I was singing the Little Mermaid songs.
Whatever gets you through the day. I think that's great, though, Kayla. There's been a lot of compliments on your work, on your jewelry. Remember, tonight and tomorrow only. I'm not sure when the coupon code ends tomorrow, but get 10% off of all Kayla's handmade jewelry and
someone just
every
bought
piece
something.
of gold. Uh-oh.
I got 2 orders.
Yay! Do it, my friends. Do it.
But yeah, all the jewelry on my site, most of it is a technique called wire wrapping. So I hand make just with raw like silver wires. I take silver wire and just hand weave, and so all the wire wrapped pieces are 100% handmade by me. The stones, occasionally some of them are stones that I actually dug or mined myself, but the rest of them usually I will buy or trade from my friends. And then some of them are stones that I personally dug and sent off to my friends and had them cut them for me. So the stones can vary, but all the silver work is all done by me on the wire wrapped pieces, and all the gold in my jewelry is all gold that I personally mined myself.
That answers that question, huh, Kevin, the Canadian hillbilly? He was just asking, where do you get your rocks from? So
well, there you
go. That helped answer that. Hey, Moons over Miami. Thank you for making your purchase, Mega Silver Stacker. He can't wait to pan your dirt. So
yeah, so the pay dirt that I do, I've been selling pay dirt for about 4 or 5 years now. And it's all raw dirt from the creeks and the rivers that I personally mine. So it's unsearched dirt that I hand dig myself. But I do add some gold to it as well, because I don't want anyone to get a bag that doesn't have anything in it. So
cool.
It's unsearched dirt plus gold added to it. That way I can guarantee a minimum, because I don't want someone to buy a bag of dirt that doesn't have anything in it. I'd hate for someone to be upset that they got a dud. So that ensures that everybody at least gets a minimum amount in there. But I've had a lot of people come back and say that it had, you know, a decent amount over the guaranteed minimum on the bags.
High outdoor more. Well, I'm definitely gonna pick up a bag of pay dirt. Right now, your jewelry's a little rich for me, but I really like the spade, cross spade, and
Oh yeah,
pick you have with the knife head,
I'll
and that
send you
ain't
one of
too.
those.
Oh, you're a sweetheart. But I am gonna be order a bag of dirt. And no, Steven, the 10% is only for jewelry since, you know, her bag's really reasonable. And you heard her, she adds on top of non-searched material. So never know what surprises lurk in the unsearched material.
Yeah, so it's material that I hand dig out the river. You know, it is sifted down to I think 1/8 of an inch, just so that a lot of the weight isn't big rocks, because that takes up
Right.
a lot of the weight. So I do sift it down, classify it down to about 1/8 of an inch. But it's unsearched. I don't go through the dirt first. I take it home, I put it in a pot and I cook it just so it dries. And that way, if there's any, because sometimes you'll get into material that has gold coated with mercury. So I try to cook all the material first because that'll burn off any mercury. So that way you don't get gold that has silver blotches all over it.
Mega Silver Stacker, even though I don't agree with return on investments with pay dirt bag, that's not the reason why you buy pay dirt to invest with gold. Wrong reason. But coming from a Silver Stacker, I understand the comment. And Mega Silver Stacker says, I've heard the ROI is high on your bags. So.
It can vary. Every bag's a little bit different, but I've definitely had a lot of really good reviews on it. So, especially since it is unsearched dirt, but I do guarantee a minimum. And in my site, it'll tell you like each size bag and what the guaranteed minimum is for that bag. So every bag will have at least that guaranteed minimum, but some of them do go over just because it's unsearched material.
Okay, let me acknowledge a super chat from the Gold Hunter 77.
Thanks for the super chat.
Whoops.
Thanks for the super chat.
Hey, he's trying to tell me a Mike Pung joke here. Oh, wow. I guess it's different than a Mike Pung joke. What do you get if you drop a piano down a mine shaft? A flat minor. Mike Pung would say, what happens when a miner falls down? What do you get when a miner falls down a mine shaft? You get a B flat minor. And I'm sure you've met Mike Pung before, haven't you, Kayla?
No, I haven't.
Oh, okay. Well, one day you might come across the inventor of the gold cube, Mike Pung, on some adventure somewhere. He looks kind of like a Santa Claus with
I've seen him on Facebook.
Marty
And
Feldman eyes, that kind of.
Yeah, I think I've had an interaction with him before, like through comments on Facebook, but I've never met him in person.
He's a great guy with quite a. He has a good sense of humor too.
But also, like, I'm pretty remote, being up in Alaska, so I haven't had an opportunity to like attend a lot of like the gold events and things like that. Last year, well, this past February, I did get to go to the Quartzsite Gold Show, so I did meet a few
Cool.
people there. But I haven't gone to as many of the gold. Like when I was younger, I used to go to more, but people didn't know who I was. So.
Right, right. Yes, he goes up to like AKU, AU, David,
Oh, I
and
know.
up to Nome. Yeah, yeah. He might go to Chicken too. He gets around quite a bit. But I know he goes up to Nome pretty much every year. All Things Country goes, holy smokes! Uh, Thanks for the super chat, Mega Silver Stacker super sticker of $10. I appreciate it. All Things Country goes, holy smokes, I just checked out the Etsy shop. That jewelry is absolutely stunning. Nice work, Kayla.
Oh, thank you.
Christmas is right around the corner, All Things Country. Get your purchase today while you can get a 10% discount code. There's be a link in the chat coming any minute now, probably, or all the info's down below, or use Flash 10 at checkout. And
Yeah,
Ellsworth,
I started doing jewelry. I want to say I opened my Etsy shop in 2017, which is kind of when I started learning how to do jewelry. And I took a little bit of a break when I was getting ready to move to Alaska. And then that first half a year I was here, I didn't have a lot of internet access, so I wasn't able to run my shop. So I had it kind of shut down for a little while. But then that first winter I was here is when I really started doing the gold incorporated into my jewelry.
well, I think it's a nice touch on your tree of life and your little pickers you find.
Yeah.
You put in there best of both worlds, silver and gold, in a beautiful stone.
Yeah, it kind
Um,
of just gives me a way to tie in both like my creative side and my hard work, like mining side, and like bring them together. And then I get to like share both sides with the world. Like I ship all over the world. I've shipped packages to Australia, Sweden, Germany,
oh, I believe
Italy, the
it.
UK, all over.
You're the world famous Kayla Johanson,
So that's kind of cool, like
artist
to
and
see.
dredge miner.
It's kind of cool when I get international orders, like to see like something that I made, like where it's going.
Cool.
Or to hear people, like I've gotten comments from people like, hey, I ran into this lady in South Carolina and she was wearing one of your necklaces.
That's
So it's really
would
cool,
be
like
really
hearing
cool
kind of
to hear.
feedback.
Gold Hunter 77 says, my favorite is your Labradorite tree wraps.
Oh yeah, I just posted one of those today. It has like yellow and purple colors in it.
Gale Archaeology and Gold says, that's my favorite too. Nice, nice.
Yeah, labradorite's like one of my more popular stones that I use. A lot of people seem to like that one. And it's a fun stone to work with because it can come in different colors and different patterns and like color flashes. They're just really unique. Like no two stones are alike, even though it's the same type of stone. No two are alike, which I find really fun.
Well, if there's three of you that like it, better hop on it before it's gone, one of you.
And
All Things
also
Country.
too, just throwing this out there, like
Okay.
Sometimes I do custom orders, but I'm kind of really picky about what kind of custom orders I do. But like if somebody wants like one of the tree pendants that I do with the gold nugget, but they don't see the stone that they like or the color they like, I do accept custom orders on the tree pendants. Like if they say, I like these tree pendants, but I want one with amethyst, or I want one that's green, or something like that. Like that is something that I do offer as well.
Bill Marsh. Ohio Relic Hunter says, I bet she could even work with my birthstone. Gravel. You're funny, Bill. Oh my goodness.
I think over the summer, some of my favorite ones that I did these Dreamcatcher. There's still a few of them in there. They're a little bit more on the pricier side just because I used bigger gold in them, and they are a lot more work to get everything made. But they have bigger pieces of gold in them than like my tree pendants do. But they're like all handmade Dreamcatcher. It's all handmade out of the silver wires, and then I intertwine the gold nuggets either into the web or into the top. But those are some of my favorites that I did over the summer.
Yeah, didn't you make some pieces? I thought I saw some. You made some with like mammoth tusk pieces and some other stuff.
Yeah, I have in the past done mammoth. I haven't done those in the past. I did them 2 winters ago.
Yeah,
And I've done
Kenneth.
walrus tusk, but
Okay,
I do occasionally use bear claws as well.
that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Kenneth says, I've got a piece of mammoth tusk with a nugget. How many folks can say they have a piece of mammoth tusk? Not many. Not many. That'd be cool.
Yeah,
Find
and
a piece.
I don't do them very often because honestly they're a pain in the ass. Because I have
Uh,
to like actually take my Dremel and like grind down the piece of mammoth tusk and like shape it and then polish it and everything. And I found out the hard way that my skin is allergic to the dust.
ooh,
And I
that
actually
ain't
get
good.
blisters. I get blisters on my face. So I had to start wearing like face
Oh,
shield and everything, and I have to do it outside. And I only really have time to do those in the winter, and it's hard to do them outside when it's really freezing cold. So they're definitely not something that I do all the time. Last
I
time I did
wouldn't
it,
be
I
doing
ended up
them
like
at all if I was getting blisters on the face and stuff.
I wear goggles to keep the dust out of my eyes, and I would wear like you know a normal little mask so I don't breathe the dust in. But in that gap between the goggles and the
Right?
mask, I started getting like red blisters on my face, and I couldn't figure out why. And then I realized it was the dust whenever I would do the mammoth.
Boy,
So I kind of cut back on doing those because it's not pleasant.
that that wouldn't be good.
So I bought this
Now,
like face shield that I can wear to hopefully keep all the
mm,
dust off me next time I decide to do them.
there you go, or have a nice fan hood or something, a vent hood, suck it all up and out or something.
Yeah, so that's why I haven't done them in a long time, is just because I started having allergic reactions to the dust.
Boy, time's flown by. It's already after 10 o'clock, Kayla.
Holy
So
moly.
you're 4 hours behind.
Yeah, it's six
Hmm.
o'clock here.
Still early for you.
It's early for me.
I Stacy likes all the jewelry. I bet uh, Ellsworth Carl's daughter likes your jewelry. Very good. She has good taste.
Yeah, now that it's starting to get colder, we're having a cold snap right now. It was sub-zeros this morning. So I obviously wasn't mining today. But it's supposed to warm back up, I think, into the 20s in a few days. So I just need to assess the river and see what the water's doing.
Right.
If it's not too bad, like it just these when you have like extended periods of these cold snaps, it really wreaks havoc on the water. Like you get a lot of slush and ice benches that form, and sometimes it's still doable and sometimes it's not. So I just have to go back and assess the river and see if it's still workable. If it is, I might still get out and do a little bit more prospecting. Um, or I might get there and see that it's just totally, you know, beyond being feasible, and have to pull my stuff completely out.
It looks like the Pacific Northwest has a storm moving in. Be batten down the hatches, guys.
Is it a bad one?
Oh, apparently, maybe not. Seems like the news out here will say, "Oh, blizzard on its way," blah 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 blah, and we hardly get anything, and it's like, what the heck? And then we'll have a blizzard, but they don't say nothing about it. Oh, tomorrow will be a mild winter day, and we get a blizzard. So.
You never know. But yeah, depending on what happens these next few days, whether or not I still keep dredging or not. If not, then I shift over more towards like full-time jewelry stuff. And this winter, I normally try to do like a rock hounding trip. Like last winter, went with my friend on that trip I was talking about earlier, where I went all over the desert and like dug all over the place. And actually, I have some of the stuff here that I dug on that trip.
Well, you dug it out, so you better show it before we end the show and give away your pay dirt.
So like
amethyst.
Yeah, like some really cool amethyst clusters that I dug. This was out in like San Bernardino County, so like Death Valley, Mojave Desert area.
Right. Nice. Very
so
nice.
That's some of the stuff that I dug on that trip. And I try to have a rule like to take a trip like that every year, every winter, but this winter I don't know if I'm going to be able to go anywhere. One of the reasons that I stopped doing my YouTube videos is I actually had a health condition over the summer that I found out about in July, and it actually requires a pretty major surgery next month. So that's why I didn't really have time to focus on my videos, is because I was doing a lot of doctor's appointments and had a lot of medical bills. So I was like focusing on mining and doing my jewelry stuff that would pay those bills.
Right.
But
everybody out there.
It's not life-threatening or anything. It does cause health issues. So I'm gonna kind of be down for the winter as far as recovery goes.
Well, everybody
so
out there.
Do my rock hounding trip this winter.
No rock hounding trip this winter, but everyone out there, do me a favor. Keep Kayla in your prayers and positive thoughts for smooth surgical operation and that things pan out well for her.
Well, I planned it perfectly. So like it's in about a month. So I'll be done mining for this season, and then I have plenty of time to heal before spring when I start mining again. So it's like perfect timing.
That's good, Kayla. You seem like an intelligent woman and have all your ducks in a row for the most part. So
I try. Sometimes my ducks go a little haywire, but I can usually wrangle them back in.
Right. Well, you'll definitely be in my prayers, and looks like a lot of others in my live chat. So I appreciate it, everybody. You're all golden out there.
But yeah, that was part of the major reason why I kind of abruptly put a halt on my YouTube videos, is I just didn't have the time to focus on extra stuff with dealing with that on top of, even with all that was going on, I was still mining. Like,
it seems like a very valid reason.
Yeah. But so I just had to shift my focus like to things that were like making my money, and that was the mining and the jewelry stuff. So, but they will continue once I get like things kind of settle down, and next spring I'll try to make a lot more videos. And I'll probably make some videos over the winter. It just might not be as much mining stuff because I won't be out mining. But I'll probably do like some jewelry stuff, like showing gold nuggets being turned into pendants, things like that.
Ellsworth, you can contact Kayla through Facebook or and the link's in the description, or her Etsy store, and she might be willing to allow that. If there's somewhere to send her a card, the girls love sending them out. Uh, Ellsworth and his wife have 3 beautiful daughters. They're special needs children that are very special, and they're such awesome huggers. They're great girls. Nice couple. See, I gave you maybe my endorsement on you, Ellsworth, will be good. And
Yeah, they can
Dustin
always
Spears,
private message me on either my Facebook or Instagram
4 girls.
or on Etsy, because there is a message option on Etsy to message the seller. So I do get those.
There you go. There you go, Ellsworth. Now, that's right. Kayla be living the dream. Sure is.
Yeah, when it's sometimes hard to believe, like I remember when I first started about 18 years ago, first started prospecting, and I was like, oh, it'd be awesome to just do this forever and do it full time. And in the back of my mind, I kind of always thought that I would, but in the front of your mind, like where your reason is, you're like, oh, it's probably just a dream. You know what I mean? Like, so it's humbling to think back to that and be like, I remember when I dreamt about being where I am right now.
And now you're doing it. No more
Yeah.
dreaming about it.
And so like on
You're
days where
doing
I'm having bad days and I'm like, I don't know why I'm doing this. Like, no matter how much you love something, you're always going to have bad days. That's just
right. Right.
And I'll have days where it's like, I don't want to quit, but like, you have days where you're like, I just want to quit. And I have to like take a step back and remind myself and like think, like, I remember when this was a dream of mine and now I'm actually doing it. And then it makes you step back and like appreciate, like remember why you're doing things and like appreciate it. And sometimes it's a little hard to believe, like not that long ago, 6 years ago, 5 years ago, living in North Carolina, I wished I could do what I was doing today. No, and there was definitely a lot of sacrifices. Like when I moved here, it really wasn't that planned. It just kind of was a spur of the moment thing, and it just kind of happened. And I had honestly never even been to Alaska when I decided I was going to move here. It was around Thanksgiving of 2019, and I was dredging with one of my friends, and he had asked me, he was like, if you could do anything with your life, what would you want to do? And I said, well, I'd really like to try going full time with my mining. And he was like, well, if you could do that anywhere, where would you go? And I told him, I was like, the answer to that question used to be California, but California's just kind of gotten crazy.
Right.
And there's too many people and they banned dredging and all that stuff. And there's just too many regulations out there. And I was like, the answer to that used to be California. So I think my second would be Alaska. And he looked at me and he was like, well, why don't you do it? And I was sitting there thinking, like, you know what? At the time I was single. I don't have kids. I didn't own a house. I had an apartment. And I had a job, but it wasn't like a career.
Right.
And I got to thinking, I was like, you know what? There's really nothing tying me down here right now. I was like, so I looked at him and I said, you know what? I think I will. And I left 4 months later.
Nice.
So I just sold everything that I could possibly sell, and he helped me. We did a bunch of research, and he helped me with the research part. And he's the one that sold me that first 6-inch dredge that I had. sold me his dredge, and I was making payments on it. And that was in the end of November of 2019, and then I left in March of 2020. And I
So
just sold
now, how
everything.
many dredges do you own now?
4.
4
Yeah.
sizes?
I have 2 6-inch dredges and 2 4-inch dredges.
Oh, so you have no little baby 2-inch dredges or 3-inch dredges to
The 4-inch
get
is a
in
baby to
and
me.
clean, right?
No, I used to have a 2.5, a little one of those little Gold Buddy backpack dredges.
Mm-hmm.
I used to have one of those, but before I moved, at the time, I had that a 4-inch gold grabber and a 6-inch keen, but I only had my truck and an open trailer, and I had to fit everything on that trailer to take to
Right, so
Alaska.
something had to go.
And so I was like, what's going to be the least productive? And that's going to be the smallest dredge. So yeah, I was sad to see it go because it was actually my first dredge I ever got. So it was kind of like a bittersweet thing, but it gave me funds to come out here. So it all worked out. And it
And
went to
it's
someone that
not
I
a
know.
bad it wouldn't have been a bad prospecting tool too to hike in to a remote area to do some sampling. But
Yeah,
for
but
what you
I've gotten
need
to
to
the point
do,
where I can hike in any piece on my 4-inch.
right?
So it might just take a few extra trips, but I can hike in any piece of my 4-inch by myself.
Is that gold grabber?
My first 4-inch was a gold grabber that I
I
bought from my friend Adam. And then I have a 4-inch pro line as well.
okay.
And then I have a 6-inch keen and a 6-inch pro line. The 6-inch pro line is like my main workhorse now. That's the one I use like the majority of the time. But it just depends on where I'm working and what I'm doing, and I'll switch up and use different pieces of equipment.
Mega Silver Stacker brought up something I was talking about earlier about live streaming, and he confirms it. He goes, Flash in your pan. I would suggest doing a YouTube live stream with Kayla making her jewelry. Just a thought. And I think it would do really good on your channel during the off season and would bring up your watch time a lot.
Yeah, I think after New Year's I'll probably try to do a couple and just see how they go.
No, I'm sure they'd probably do well, and especially if you did your live stream, vertical live streams, you would get a lot more traffic from the short shelf also.
Gotcha.
So just a thought. I know YouTube's always changing and switching up things.
Yeah, that's one thing I'm still like, I had a hard time with shooting stuff because sometimes I like to have footage that can be used for either or, shorts or videos, but then I found out that it was really hard to do that because they're different like formats. So that's where I
But
had a hard time with the editing, is because like it's shorts, if I hold my phone up and down, it worked for the shorts, but it didn't work for my videos.
right.
And my GoPro worked for the videos, but it came out funky for the shorts. So it was like, it was just weird. So that's something I was still trying to get the hang of. So some of my editing wasn't the greatest just because of that, but
You'll
it
get
is
the hang of
what
it.
it is.
I have no doubt in my mind. There was one last question before we pretty much call it a night. I still have to wake up at 5-ish, 4:30-ish.
So,
Um, but it was brought up, and I usually bring it up. If you could travel anywhere, uh, anywhere in the world, doesn't matter if it's a national park, a national monument, Places where equipment, dredging's like illegal, like California now, Washington, um, parts of Australia and Canada. No holds bars, all paid for. Where would you go?
Um,
Right, David, via no restrictions.
there's a few different things I'd like to do. Obviously, like I know this is pretty common between a lot of people, but I'd like to go metal detecting in Australia. I think that would be really fun. And I'd
Okay.
like to do that at some point. I used to dig a lot in the East Fork San Gabriel River, and there's really good gold in that river. And before they banned dredging, I used to live out in California, and that's the first place I ever dug for gold. Then I moved to North Carolina, and I always wanted to go back and dredge there, but I never got to because then shortly after they banned it in
Right.
California. And so like it might not be like the top location in the world that I'd want to prospect, but just because it was one of the first places I ever wanted to dredge, but I never got to, like I would still love to be able to do that at some point.
Yeah, it makes sense.
That's
And you're
it. Just
right.
like even though it's gotten really popular, like not necessarily with gold prospecting, like there's a lot of people that prospect there, but there's just a lot of people just because it's so close to LA. So it does get crowded and it does get kind of trashed. So that's kind of sad to see. But just because it was the first place that really sparked that passion for me, it still holds like a really soft spot in my heart for that area. That's actually like this whole thing here is actually scenes from that river.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so like I would still like to like live that dream of being able to dredge there, even though I wouldn't want to deal with all the people.
No, it's funny. I'm a native Californian. I was born and raised in Southern California in Orange County.
Oh, I lived in Orange County.
And I was your typical beach bum surfer skater dude. I lived, drank, ate, breathed, surf. And I think back now and I'm like, man, I wish I would have caught the gold bug way, way, way back then. I wasted so much time ditching school to surf, and I don't do nothing to do with surf anymore for decades. I still skateboard, but if I would have got into gold dredging back then, at least I would have been earning gold while I'm ditching school.
I know. When I first started going out there, this was I was 17, so 2006. So when I started going out there and kind of, piddling around gold panning and stuff. Um, that was before they had banned dredging. So I always saw guys out there with their dredges and stuff, and I was like, oh, I want to do that.
Right.
But then the next year, when I was 18, I moved to North Carolina, and then, I did research. When I moved there, I didn't realize there was as much gold in North Carolina as there actually was. It wasn't until after I moved there I started doing research and like, because I was like, I need something to do here, and I started doing research and realized that North Carolina used to be the #1 gold producing state before the California gold rush. So
They
I
had a
started.
major gold rush 20 years before the California gold rush.
Oh, well before that, it was like late 1700s to early 1800s.
Yeah, 1700s. The Reed mine was in
Yeah.
operation. Yeah.
So I started doing
Um,
some research and like realized, oh, there was actually a lot of mining that was around the area that I'm living in. And so I started doing some prospecting out there. And then that's kind of just where it took over. And then that led me to my other hobbies and passions too, because as I was prospecting and looking for areas and sampling and exploring, I'd come across quartz veins that produced crystals, or I'd come across Indian artifacts or old bottles and stuff like that. So it was just like I said earlier, like gold prospecting was like the gateway drug for me being obsessed with looking for things. And like, here's a few examples. Like, I'd be out prospecting and find quartz veins and dig crystals like this.
Ooh.
This one weighs 17 pounds. So like it opened a lot of doors for other hobbies that I found out that I was really passionate about. And like I dig crystals, like big crystals like these. And these are all from North Carolina. Like as I was gold prospecting, I found these sites on my own.
Nice.
So
that'd be so cool to find.
So then I became obsessed with digging crystals because I started finding these big crystals, and then that became an obsession as well. So I was digging gold and crystals. And then I was trying to think, like, with the smaller stones, like, what can I do with these? And then that's what got me into making jewelry, was finding crystals. Because I was like, oh, these smaller crystals I can make jewelry out of. So it was like
such a vicious circle, huh,
yeah,
Kayla?
it just like my whole life just like steamrolled into this like huge treasure hunting and creating project.
Right, David, collector of collections. Right.
Yeah. So it just like it all started with getting a gold pan. Like everything I do now started from that moment of getting a gold pan.
Welcome back, Brad. Just in time to Sue's gonna take away some pay dirt.
Oh yeah, we gotta find the winner.
Compliments of our gracious guest tonight, being so generous to sponsor tonight's giveaway. No numbers for giveaways, Brian. We don't do that here. You know that, silly fella. All right, I'm going to share a screen. My chat's not working in StreamYard, and neither is the StreamYard giveaway tool, guys. So, but Nightbot's doing the job. And I'll be also giving away a sticker pack tonight too. I know, how cheap, but I'm a poor white boy, guys. So there we are. You must be present to win. Do you want them send me your address and me give it to you, or?
That works, because then you can message me with their information and I'll mail it out, and then you can send me your address and I can mail you your pendant.
Oh, you're so awesome, Kayla. All right, ready? One for the money. Give me a countdown, Kayla.
Countdown. What, like 3, 2, 1?
Yeah, that works.
All right, 3, 2, 1. Gold nugget. 2, 1.
Rocky Mountain Brad Hayden. You have a minute to claim it.
So they have to actually be present in the chat.
You do have. Yeah. Well, it's only fair, right?
Yeah, I think so.
What?
Did he claim it?
Yeah. Yeah, he's here. He goes, what?
I can't see. I'm on my phone, so it's too small for me to read.
Right. StreamYard even gives me a timer. It's 27 seconds with the what? He's here. Congratulations, Brad. Do me a favor. Either email me your address. I might have it, but email me your address and I'll get it to Kayla. And yeah, I gotta stop the share screen and share another one. You're more than welcome, Brad.
Yeah, and I'll get that. Once you get me the address, I'll probably get it mailed out before the end of the week.
Cool. So, the sooner you get it to me, the sooner I could. Yeah, Rocky Mountain Prospector Brad is definitely the new Lucky Ducky Thomas Lucky Duck, that's for sure. He wins all the time. Little thank you card. I hope you like peanuts. I have some new channel stickers coming, but there's my 7th year Tuesday Night Hangout Live sticker. I got some Gold Hunter 77 sticker to throw in there. My Betty Heavy Meadow Detective. These are once these are gone, they're gone. Is Spike Strike prospecting equipment, Eric Robinson prospecting equipment, or Robinson prospecting equipment, Tin Man magnet fishing, and if I get my channel stickers out before I mail it, I'll throw that in, and maybe some others. So all you have to do is be active in the live chat. You have a minute to claim it. And let's see who gets the sticker pack. I know, guys, that ain't silver or gold or something, but it's something. Why Gold has a minute to say something. Thank you, Brad. Why Gold, are you still in the house? Cool, Brad. Cool. I'm glad you are, buddy. 30 seconds, Why Gold. He might have went to bed. He has to mine with Swiftwater Tony tomorrow. So he has 16 seconds. Right. That could be Mr. Lodak. That could very well be. He was in here not too long ago. Oh, sorry, Rob. All
Gotta pick a new
right.
one.
Yeah. They did it different. I should have used the old one for this. Okay, you guys, you have a minute to chat something in the room. I'm using the new version of Nightbot dashboard, so it's a little different. So, chat while you can. You have 40 seconds left, roughly. And then I'm going to push the button and see who wins. Doop, doop, doop. All right, who's the winner? Thomas Pennyweight, folks. Thomas, you better be here, buddy.
Did he claim it?
Oh, yeah. Thomas is here. Congratulations, Thomas. I believe I have your address. If you'd message it to me again, I'd be greatly appreciative. Because, unless I have permission to save your addresses, I don't save it. Kayla, thank you so very much for being an absolutely fabulous guest again on Tuesday Night Hangout Live.
Well, thanks for having me.
I greatly appreciate it. It's my
I'd be glad
pleasure.
to do it again at some point.
It's cool. So one day I might say, hey, Kayla, want to come back? So, you never know.
More exciting projects I'm working on. New stuff.
Oh, I'm sure you will. It'd be nice to get an update. All of you out there, next week is Open Line Tuesday, I believe, where you out there are our guests. And next month, I'm going to have Kevin Hoagland and Dominic Ricky joining us again. We're going to have a LDMA and a GPAA versus LDMA versus GPAA show that night. Should be a really good time. And everybody, you have till tomorrow to get 10% off of any of Kayla's jewelry by using the link below. And thanks again for sponsoring the giveaway, offering the discount, Kayla, and being back again on my show. I greatly appreciate you. All of you out there, I greatly appreciate each and every one of you. I want to thank all the super chatters tonight. Flower Gold Wizard, Gold Hunter 77, Mega Silver Stacker. Thank you all very much. You help me keep my live streams ad-free during the live streams. Until next time, may you always have a flash in your pan, and I hope to, and maybe we hope to meet you on the stream one day. I do. I can't speak for Kayla, but I do. But at this time, we're out of here. Mahalo, brother. Aloha. And all of you, be safe, be sane. But right now, Kayla and I, we're out of here.